Welcome to episode 13 of Stream Roulette. I'm Steph Broadbridge and I'm here with Daniel Towns. Hey, Daniel.
Hello.
And this week we watched Conversations with a Killer, the John Wayne Gacy tapes.
Yeah, and I've got a fair bit to say. So
let's get into it then.
Let's go. All right, welcome in. I'm Daniel Towns here with Steph.
Hello.
Hello. All right, this is the first time we've seen each other for a podcast for a while. With you being away in Melbourne.
Sorry.
No, it's good. I mean, it's good that you're back, obviously. But yeah, how long have you been back for now? A week and a bit?
Yeah, a week and a half.
Have you hit that point where it feels like the festival was such a long time ago?
Yeah, the day I got back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right. It usually takes me about a week or 10 days, and you're like, that feels like a lifetime ago. Just a week of normality.
Yeah, I tell you what the hardest part for me has been is the transition from going from 4 or 5 gigs a night to going back to 1 a day. It feels so lame.
Is that how much you were hustling in Melbourne?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's crazy. I suppose there are that many gigs there.
Yeah.
Though, so you might as well. Yeah, you might as well. I think the most I ever did at night. Actually, it was the year I didn't do a show, and because I was there and I was recording my podcast when I first started that, and I was doing as many as I could, so I stayed there the whole month.
Oh, that's great.
I just did gigs every night.
Yeah.
And I was doing 3 or 4 a night.
Yeah.
Kind of things, just jumping up everywhere, and it was so much fun.
It is.
And I would almost say I got just as much out of that as I did doing a solo, because I was gigging and I was finding out if the material was really funny as opposed to hour-long show funny, and they just like me and they want to hear how that story ends.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, this has to be,
when you only got to do 7 minutes, it's got to be good.
Oh, totally.
For 7 minutes.
Especially with a small, judgy crowd that you sometimes can get.
Melbourne is a little judgy, I will say that.
Someone said it to me last night at a gig, actually. They didn't say Melbourne were judgy. They were just saying, Sydney Comedy Festival, it's so much fun, but it's so hard doing it off the back of Melbourne. And I said, oh, yeah. I said, it really is. Every year, I'd do Sydney, I'd do Melbourne, and then for some reason, for a few years in a row, my Sydney show was the first week. Yeah. And you don't get a break. And by that stage, Sydney, the shows are fun, but you don't have the enthusiasm anymore. It doesn't matter that it's full, because you're just so fucking exhausted. Yeah. Whereas not doing Melbourne, you go in kind of fresh and, it's this is fun. And they said the audiences in Sydney are just so much better.
Sydney audiences are better?
Oh, I think the festival ones definitely give more. You can turn it into a good vibey, just a sweet gig.
I think it depends on what kind of show you wrote. I mean, I know that's going into very specific details, but I think if you wrote a show, I wrote a show for Melbourne. So Melbourne. I
also think though, with that kind of stuff, because I agree. I was thinking about this morning because I'm thinking about all the ground that I'm going to be covering.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is quite serious, but I don't want... There's a way to deliver that material and not have the audience... sitting there serious or feeling any way other than laughter. And the best way to do that, and it usually hits me around the 4th or 5th night at the festival, is when I go, fuck it, I know the words, just go out there and have fun.
Yeah.
And it's when I start having fun with the delivery and not being scared to say...
Yeah.
That.
Oh, yeah. The first time saying something dark's horrifying.
Oh, it's terrifying. Yeah, especially when you haven't thought about, how they're going to react. Yeah. Because if you want a reaction and you've thought about it, it's all right, they're going to pity me here. Yeah. And you want that. Yeah. That's okay. But if you say something that competition I hosted last night.
Oh, yeah.
It was quite interesting.
So you hosted a comedy competition for, I believe it's for all skill levels?
Yeah, but it was put on by, beer, alcohol makers or something. So it's put on outside the industry. The voting power was given to the audience, but to vote, they had to buy a drink.
Oh, love it.
So it was a bit, it was fun anyway. But it was... Anyway, there was someone on stage, and I think they had the lines for when the response was there, but the response wasn't there.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean? You know when people think they're going to laugh here, so I'll say this.
No.
You know what I mean? And it's like, no, they didn't.
Mortifying, like, and they still said it?
Just like a bail. And then it just turns into that. There's two things that's really hard to recover from on stage. Actually, there's two things I will say is damn near impossible to recover from on stage. And that's like extreme, like, neediness or pity.
Yeah.
And extreme anger. Like, have you ever seen someone lose it on stage?
Yeah. And then that's it.
Like, you can't. No. You can't go back to, hey, so, ha.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way. Like, once
no one's laughing now. They're all terrified.
Oh, like, once they see that fire in your eyes.
Yeah.
You know, like, once they see that, oh, no, this is, like, once you see someone's, their eyes come alive. It's like, oh, this is turned into an event now. There's ways to do it. Like, I've gotten angry on stage with hecklers and stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's always because of a heckler.
And you can keep that. And you can get the love, but it does turn it into an aggressive gig kind of thing. It's like, oh, this is just aggressive now. You know, you're saying stuff that you just...
Which can be really fun.
Oh, look...
As long as you're not actually mad.
I will tell you, two of the best heckle interactions I've ever had. It's happened twice.
Yeah.
It was a kid on a cruise in a PG show, like, took over the entire 30 minutes that I had to do. It's already hard enough as it is.
Yeah.
You know, and then you got this kid that doesn't understand what's going on, doesn't care and doesn't realise.
How old are we talking?
Like, maybe 7 or 8. Like...
A 7 or 8-year-old kid?
Yeah, but, like, absolutely destroyed them. Like, to the point, but, like, I was like, I'd say something and I'd be like, there's no, like, I don't feel good about it, you know, but I knew I could, and, like, I didn't say anything horrible.
No, but you also knew you could win the argument.
Well, it wasn't even really an
with
argument.
An 8-year-old kid.
But I was saying things like, look what you're making me do. Like, I was getting angry.
Yeah, that's smart.
More like at how I had to handle the situation to keep everyone else entertained, and it was more that fake anger. Yeah. But, like, I never said anything bad to him. It was more included him in on the... Yeah. But it was just something... It's happened twice. And also, how's this then? The next day, like, I got the phone call, like, a couple of people would have a story about how, you know, if someone put in a complaint and they got the phone call to go up there and whatever, and I got the phone call and it's like, oh, you know, and I had to go up. It's like, fuck, here we go. And the parents made the kid apologise to me. They were just too mortified to...
That's awesome.
They thought they were going to get picked on, and it's like, no, just fucking, you know, what would it? Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it was quite funny.
I bet that kid's a comedian now.
Yeah, maybe. I know he's a big Pokemon fan. We talked about that after a while. And, like, I just explained to him, I said, man, I didn't care. Like, it's not I said it was more that it was taking it away from everyone else. Yeah. Like, what they were there for.
But it's an 8-year-old. They don't have empathy.
No, I know. Yeah, no, I know. But they don't get embarrassed either.
God, that's mortifying. I don't think I could handle an 8-year-old.
Yeah, I didn't think I could, like, the first time on stage. But then you do, you know, it's just a skill. But speaking of handling 8-year-olds, John Wayne Gacy. Sorry, I just saw it.
Segue.
I saw it crowbar there.
Beautiful work.
I thought I'll take it.
Yes.
So, what was it called again?
Conversations with a Killer, the John Wayne Gacy tapes. And then the little synopsis is, never before heard audio from the interrogation of serial killer John Wayne Gacy threads through the chilling look at his 1970s murder spree.
Okay. So
murder spree.
How many did you watch?
I watched all 3.
Oh, you did it?
Yes, but I loved it.
Really?
I loved it. I would have watched all 10 if there'd been 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I got to say, like, this is a weird one for me because I really like serial killer stuff. Yeah. But I've never, like, I know about Gacy, but I've never been interested in learning more than what I can read. So, like, I've saw the Bundy one. Like, the Bundy, I'm fascinated with the Bundy one. Yeah. You know, and there's a couple of others, you know, like that Richard Ramirez guy. Yeah. You know, like some of those where it's like, oh, wow, they're really interesting to me. But for some of John Wayne Gacy, it just never grabbed me. And that's also one of the reasons why this wouldn't have been something I would have picked.
Yeah, I didn't know a lot about him. I knew he was a clown just from, like, stuff, but that's all I knew.
Yeah, right.
I knew he was a clown. That's literally all I knew about him. And I think the reason I wasn't across him, which is terrifying, but I think it's because his victims were all boys and young men. And all the ones I've watched, they've all been women.
It's women.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So 33 victims.
33, and they were all men or young boys.
Yep.
So first, I think we should say that you get a veto
Yes.
for. Sorry, I'm just checking a note here.
I felt guilty because I did really enjoy it.
I only
so it
watched.
didn't feel like work.
I only watched one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I only watched one of them. So.
I mean, there wasn't a lot of new information in the other two, to be honest. Like, it did overlap a fair bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I find like with those things, I mean, the Bundy one was interesting to me because I really knew the story.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. But yeah, I don't know. Like it just, I don't know. I didn't really enjoy it. Like it was really slow.
It was a bit slow.
I only watched one episode.
Yeah, right. So the third episode, they just went through the court case.
Yeah, okay. How did he go in court? Did he represent himself?
No, he had a lawyer, but obviously, I mean, there's no spoilers because it's a true story. He was sentenced. He had the death penalty. So
yeah, he got the death penalty, didn't he?
Yeah,
lethal injection.
Obviously, his court case didn't go well.
Okay. Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, he did time and he did quite.
But they tried to claim insanity.
Did they?
They were like, no.
Well, I know he got diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder.
That makes sense.
And, you know, like like if you look at his Wikipedia page, which I was just skimming through before you got here.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I mean, first, I will say serial killers, like, I appreciate that they. This is going to be hard to say because, like, let's point out, like you said, you knew about all the women ones and, like, this was an all-male one. Like, so most of the serial killers, apart from a couple, are sexually motivated.
Yeah.
And it's violent.
Yep.
Crimes, whereas, okay, so that's horrible. All right, so take that into account, but also if you could forget about that, just for the purpose of this, because like there's not many serial killers anymore, is there? Like it's not common. You got spree killers, but like they're just heat of the moment, passion. Like they walk in, they shoot 30 to 50 randoms, and then they shoot themselves, or they.
Yeah.
Like
you mean they knock off a bunch at once rather than one at a time.
And they don't care who it is. Like, there's just no passion for the craft.
This guy didn't care who it was.
Oh, they were all men.
But but I don't think he picked them because he was fascinated. Like, he wasn't putting collages of their faces on his walls.
No, he wasn't Ted Bundying. He wasn't
stalking them.
No, he wasn't Bundying them.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't, they didn't all look like his ex. But
no, a lot of them were like a crime of convenience.
Yeah, but they were still, they still had that. But anyway, I guess my point was that they're like, at least serial killers were passionate about their craft. You know, like there's particular, like they're stalking, they're showing up at crime scenes and press conferences and.
Yeah, they work hard.
Like, then, these other ones, they're just walking in.
Well, I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying, but but by that standard, then John Wayne Gacy would be a very successful serial killer because he got away with it for a long time.
But he kept him boarded up in his house, which is insane.
Yeah.
Like, obviously it's insane.
Yeah.
So, but I'm even curious as to, like, so with his victims, right, like, do you think there's a psychological factor at play? Obviously, did it get into his dad?
Briefly. He spoke about his dad because in the confession tapes, which is what the whole show is about, he basically blames everyone else for everything the entire time, which is, to me, I was just like, yes, love it. Like, so interesting. So his dad had a huge part.
Oh, well, his dad, like, apparently, like, was an alcoholic
and abusive and didn't show any love.
A lot, and used to, like, call him a little sissy and a little girl and a little mama's boy and all that kind of stuff. So he grew up in a really toxic, violent environment with a homophobic man. Yeah. Who then, he's obviously gay.
Yes.
And, like, just even the way he justified it in the first episode where he was like, oh no, if it's just anal or oral sex and there's no love there, like that's not homosexual.
Yeah.
He's like, no, that's just.
That was crazy.
And it's like, so like if he'd heard, all right, go back to when was he active? What was it, the 70s?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you go back to then, look at society's views on
Yeah.
like on being gay, right?
100%.
So that you would have had all that coming down, plus all the stuff from his dad, and then the violence and all that, the abuse from his childhood.
Yes.
Like all compound. I'm not saying this justifies anything. I'm just saying I think.
Well, no, that would be insane to say it justified, but I know what you're saying. It does make sense.
Yeah.
Which I think is why people become really obsessive with these type of shows, because you do want to make sense of a brain like that. You're like, what leads someone to turn that insane?
I read a book once. It was actually research for a show. And it was a textbook, and it was because there was a lot of stuff on violence. It was around the time of the alcohol-fueled violence and the lockdowns and lockouts.
Oh,
in
yeah.
Sydney, when they're shutting venues and all that kind of stuff. And I was
Coward
just
punching days.
Yeah, and the book is called The Anatomy of Violence, but it's a psychiatric textbook.
Yeah.
And like it was a hard read, but,
Oh, mate.
but it was fascinating. And some of the stuff in there, like there was one guy who was given, because they looked in like the nature versus nurture and and there was one guy who was given up for adoption, like as a baby. And then when he was an adult, like 18 or 19, he went to his robbery or something. And then he gone out. And he ended up stabbing someone and went to back to jail. And someone said to him, "Oh, you look like such and such on death row." And that was his biological father.
Whoa.
Like there was a couple of things in there. There was another example that really stuck with me too. There was 3 people. Like apparently your impulse control has a lot to do with your prefrontal cortex.
Yeah.
3 people attempted. I think it was either suicide or an injury or a combination of the 3.
Yeah.
And they were the 3 people that they studied. But they all took a bullet. Like it didn't do the job. And they just damaged themselves, and two of them lost everything, like in the sense that their partners left them, they lost their jobs, they became homeless, and they both ended up in prison for murder.
Yeah.
But the third one, his partner stayed with him, his family had money, they gave him a job on their farm, just doing menial work, like cleaning up and all that kind of stuff, and he just stayed
okay,
with the hole in his head kind of thing. You know what I mean? But yeah, he never. So there was all these things. It's well, for every thing you find that can prove it, there's examples where, there's other things where it just gets flipped. And I think obviously circumstance would have a lot to do with it. Yeah,
well, I mean, if you want to talk about his circumstances, I found this. I looked up Murderpedia, which is my favorite website.
Is that I remember Crime Library from about 20 years ago.
It's very similar.
Yeah, right.
It's basically a Wikipedia, but all for serial killers. So when he was in his late teens, he was employed as a mortuary assistant.
Oh, yeah.
Which is insane. And he would move corpses and materials from the hospital to the funeral homes. And because he couldn't afford lodgings with his new pay, he slept there at night. So he slept with all the dead bodies, not with them, but then also they don't know, because apparently they thought maybe he was performing necrophilia, because he was shown how the bodies were clean, treated and embalmed at night, but then when everyone else left, he would pull out the drawers and examine the bodies, talk to them and undress them and neatly fold their clothes next to the caskets.
No, there's something here that says Gacy later confessed that one evening while alone he had clambered into the coffin of a deceased teenage male, embracing and caressing the body before experiencing a sense of shock. This prompted him to call his mum and ask whether his dad would allow him to return home. Yeah,
that's messed up. But then also
that was in Las Vegas.
Did that come from, I don't know, because then you don't know. It's maybe because it wasn't like he looked for a job in a mortuary. They put him in a job. Huh?
No, I'm kidding. Sorry.
But just the nature versus nurture kind of argument which is kind of what you were talking about. Yeah. The other thing I thought that was super interesting, this is my probably favourite's bad because everything about it was fucked, but the thing they kind of skirted over in the doco was the only reason he got caught for any of this was because he was initially arrested for sodomy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the church, not the church, the JCs or whatever they were called.
Yes, sodomy, which I looked up what it officially means.
Well, I thought it was butt stuff.
So did I.
Was mouth sodomy.
I thought it was, but it's also mouth stuff.
Yeah.
And it's also mouth stuff, butt stuff, whatever you're into, is considered sodomy. And
Is that if they're under? No, because
no,
if they're underage.
that's what I mean. So he didn't actually get. So it was the guy was 19.
So hang on, if you're in a relationship with someone, is that like consensual
that's
sodomy?
Consensual sodomy, which was still illegal.
Oh, that's. I wish I knew that. That's kind of fun to know.
Until 1976.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That was illegal till when?
1976, I think it said.
Yeah, well, yeah, right.
Yeah. So he basically was arrested for being gay.
He was.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So it all comes.
So he went
back
to jail. He was sent to jail for 10 years for being gay. And technically, I think he probably did assault the 19-year-old guy, like probably, but that's not what he went to jail for. So he went to jail for being gay, and then because he was now legally gay, he was like chased by the police up and down America for years.
Yeah.
So the only reason they were even onto him in the first place was because he was busted for like oral sex. I'm pretty sure he didn't do that much anal sex. He seemed obsessed with the idea of oral sex.
Imagine the rush. Like,
What do you mean?
if sex was illegal.
Oh yeah, but it was.
No, that's what I mean. Like, imagine like it's like it's enough of a rush when it's legal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's imagine that like you would like
But it was interesting because they had to like in this documentary.
Hang on, sorry, when I say that, I mean like obviously of everyone of age, but it's like it's not like just to clarify.
Well, consensual sodomy wasn't considered unconstitutional. Making someone in jail for that wasn't unconstitutional until 2003 in America. So there you go.
This is going to get a little bit grubby here.
Isn't that insane?
What, till when?
2003.
2003, but they can marry cousins and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's them that whole fucking step people porn's coming from.
Yeah.
You know
Big
what I mean? I mean, they produce a lot of the porn. I'm sure there's Euro stuff that's, you know.
Yep, I think. Also, the Germans have their porn.
I remember one time I went into a store in Amsterdam, just in the red light district, just to have a look at the DVDs and whatnot.
Yep.
Like,
just browsing.
No, you got to have a look, right?
Just here for the articles.
But it made me laugh because there was a section, like, obviously they had the genres, so they had, you know, like they had everything. They had scat and like cousins and step people
all
stuff.
the classics.
But they also had a director's section.
A director's section?
Yeah, like you could like, it's like if you're looking for a Tarantino cut, or you know what I mean?
That's so funny.
Like directors, it was like, these have been directed by such and such, or It was like, okay. Yeah, no, it's so expansive though. Like I never understood that purchase.
Expensive or expansive?
Expensive.
Expensive. Yeah.
Like pornography is such a ridiculous purchase because you don't feel good after it.
Thanks so much for listening to the episode, guys. We'd love to know what you think of the TV shows that we're reviewing, so you can hit us up on any of the social media platforms. It's Stream Roulette Podcast. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
And feel free to let us know what you think of our show too. Like, don't just hold back on the TV shows. And if you really like the show, we've also got a Patreon where we're putting out 2 bonus episodes a month. And it's in the same lane, but it's called Guilty Pleasures. So instead of letting them choose, Steph will choose a show that she loves secretly that I haven't seen, and vice versa. And we have to subject the other one to watch that. So if that seems like something you'd be into, check out the Patreon. That's just Stream Roulette over on the old Patreon website.
And don't you have a podcast coming up?
I do, actually. I'm bringing mine back out. That's the Daniel Towns podcast. So thank you for letting me throw that in there. And also, if you are enjoying this Stream Roulette podcast with myself and Steph, please feel free to leave us a review on iTunes, because that's how these things grow and climb, and that's what we're here for. But anyway, this is enough of this. Let's get back to the episode, shall we?
Done.
Purchase because you don't feel good after it.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's just my personal opinion.
But you don't feel good after eating Macca's either, but you still buy it.
You don't feel bad after eating Macca's.
Oh,
you don't
disagree.
feel guilty.
You do.
No, Macca's is the only one I could eat and not, because I know within 20 minutes, like, I'll be hungry again. Like, it's not a permanent gross feeling.
Well, I feel horrifically guilty after McDonald's.
Do you eat any of the others?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because the others do stay with you. I feel dirty after all the others.
Oh, actually, speaking of, so did you see in the first episode, I think they told you what his final words were, or was that
Sorry,
not to
fast
the
food
end?
not good enough for you. No, I'm
It's
kidding. I'm kidding.
related.
Go,
It's
go, go.
related.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was going to say, did you want to guess what his final meal was?
Fried chicken.
Yes.
Was it really?
Yes.
The only reason I guessed that is because I know he did work at KFC.
So it was KFC. There was also other things as well.
What do you mean?
There was other food besides KFC.
Oh, right. What else was there?
A dozen deep fried shrimp,
Yeah.
a pound of fresh strawberries and French fries. Yeah, and a bucket of original recipe chicken from KFC.
I mean, he worked there, so that's saying something. He ran a few of them. Must be good chicken. What would you have for your last meal?
I mean, probably pretty similar, to be honest.
You reckon?
Probably more chocolate. I'd probably go more sweets.
Really?
Yeah.
For the last time.
Yeah, I don't
You
know if I'd go
think
strawberries.
after 20 years in prison, you'd be like, you know what? I just want some fucking broccoli.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Like, because I think I'd just go all out, like, stuff that you've just been craving. But who knows what you'd crave in there? It'd be
Yeah.
so weird after a while. You'd be like, you know what, man? I just want to eat a fucking apple. So I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Actually, yeah, maybe because all the food would get turned into booze. So, I don't know.
Yes.
Speaking of all that stuff, there was one of the entrants last night. Maybe you've come across them. They've done some other gigs.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if I want to talk about that or not.
Andrew.
Yeah, it's not my thing to say. I wasn't going to say his name, but there you go. What a fascinating story.
Yeah.
Anyway,
He's great.
court case still pending, so let's just leave it there.
I think first name's okay.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. And it was just because in the break, because I got his name wrong on stage, his surname.
Oh.
And he didn't even care. And he made a funny comment about it instead of getting all like, who's going
Yeah, he's funny.
And then straight away in my head, I was like, all right, one, he doesn't have a massive ego, which is good. And two, he's funny.
Yeah.
And then he started I've seen a lot of comedy. I haven't seen anyone talking about getting raided by Strike Force Raptor. And yeah, it was funny stuff.
So he did raw comedy. He did the state final.
Oh, right.
And he had to get special permission from court to stay up late past his curfew so he could enter it.
Well, he ended up getting through in the competition last night because he did really well. And but apparently the final was on the day of his sentencing.
Yep. Shout out to Andrew.
But it's interesting watching him talk about it on stage. Though,
He's so good.
But he's also he's not glorifying it.
No.
There's obvious
yeah.
you could see there's remorse. Yeah.
Yeah.
And anyway, moving on. Funny guy. Didn't plan going down that path, but there we went. So, would you recommend this to other people?
Yes, definitely.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, of course. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Look, it definitely is interesting. What about all the clown stuff?
Oh, dude, no. So no.
See, that's what made it really that just
Ugh.
adds to the level of creepiness, doesn't it?
Yeah, and having all the clowns in his bedroom as well. Did you see that bit?
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, when they raid the house, his whole bedroom's full of sculptures and paintings of clowns.
How do you have 28 bodies in your crawl space and it doesn't smell?
It did smell.
Oh, it did.
I think a little bit, but he put lime on it because he was a construction guy who'd worked in a mortuary, so he knew his stuff.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, I mean,
He worked in construction and he knew how to get rid of bodies. That was his whole early life was built to be an amazing serial killer. I think the only reason he got caught is because he got one guy who had a family.
Is that the first sodomy?
No. So there was a 15-year-old boy that he picked up. I think that was the first story they talked about in episode 1. The first guy, there was a 15-year-old boy who went out to find him to ask for a job.
Yeah.
And he was never seen again, and his family noticed straight away that he was missing. Because before that, he was just picking up strays at bus stations. So no one even knew the kids were disappearing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it was, even that, it's the people that target sex workers and whatnot as well. There's a
Yeah.
real, no one's going to look for you.
But had he done that, he could still be doing it. I
got to say, the higher the risk they play in,
yeah.
that's, if you're picking people up from bus stops and, sex workers that, the police aren't, people don't really
Yeah.
Like, forgotten members of society, that it's easy to become a statistic for the police and like all that kind of stuff.
Well, if there's no missing persons report, they wouldn't even know.
Yeah, but I think that's your base level. Bloody, you know what I mean? You're a beginner. Like, let's go. Like, where's someone with a you got to be talking people.
Okay.
People with the resources. People with the resources to find you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but I mean
put it this way: if Madeleine McCann was abducted,
Yeah.
and she still is, then the people like. Oh, fuck, I'm not going to finish that sentence. All I'm saying is...
I mean, it's a good point, but I would also argue...
That's probably not a good point.
It's a horrible
point. I'm looking at it from a comedy perspective, trying to flip something around.
No, I mean, I'm on board with the premise, but the other thing is, though, these guys were like young adults, teenage guys who worked in construction. So, like, if you're dealing with, like, 16-year-old girls, that's much easier to abduct them.
Oh, totally.
Physically.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, he had to be really sneaky to, like, get these guys in a position where because he's not, like, a fit guy. He's, like, quite an overweight, kind of pudgy. He's not a sporty dude. Like,
did you see he'd, like, get them handcuffed first?
Yeah, but he had to trick them into that.
But did you see how he tricked them?
Yeah, insane.
Like, I'm not going to say, like, if you fall for let me show you a magic trick, you deserve to get killed. But, like...
No!
What kind of stuff?
I would have fallen for that.
Really? A magic trick? I probably would have been like, you know what?
If he did it first.
The only way, look, probably I would have as well. I'd like to think I would.
Because I'd want to know how to do it.
The only way they could really get you, like, without is if they did it like the hawkers or whatever they're called in Europe. You know, like I remember one time I was in Paris and I was walking down the street and before I knew it, I had to give someone €10 because they'd tied this fucking friendship bracelet, plaited it around my wrist. They just come up and grab you and they start doing it. And then they're like, all right, all done, €10. And you're like, well, it's just easy to give them the €10 to get rid of it. Because they just, and then all the other people gather around. And
yeah, it's just easier to get murdered than try and get out of handcuffs.
Yeah, probably. Fuck, we've watched that anyway. Gacy, that's him.
Yeah, so he had to work pretty hard is my point. Because it was a young man as opposed to young women.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Look, it was, like he...
And he got away with it for ages. And he, like, ran out of space to bury the bodies. So he started dumping them in the river. Like
I did see that too.
He filled up his entire house with bodies.
He could never have moved. He had to die there.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't think that through, did he?
I don't know.
Like, I mean, I get if you've got a house and a block of land, which it sounds like.
Yeah.
And, like, hiding them there would make more sense than burying them anywhere because, like, they could get found. Same as dumping bodies, they could get found. So if there's like, at least he knows where they are.
Yeah.
And if he's driving home, say, from, like, a night out or he's gone to the supermarket and he sees, like, 20 cop cars at his house, he knows something's up and he can turn around and fuck off. So it's disgusting. But maybe there's a sense of, like, just...
Imagine if you'd been to one of his barbecues, afterwards, knowing that you'd eaten food off a barbecue pit full of dead bodies. So, like his neighbours. Do you know what I mean?
Surely you'd smell that, though. You'd smell the hair burning.
Well, he put slabs of concrete over the top of it.
Yeah, right.
Like,
so he burned them as well?
No. He buried it under a barbecue pit and then he'd have parties at his house.
Yeah. Okay.
So, like...
Yeah. Oh, and you're eating meat off the top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. That is kind of weird. But, I mean, yeah.
Oh, man, it's so much. I did also, which...
It would have been more interesting to me if he did the killings with the clown suit on.
Yeah, I did think there was going to be more of a connection, actually, between the clown suit and the killings, but they seem to be separate things. The clown suit seemed to be to help him get away with things, which is insane.
Yeah, well, wasn't he? He was a kids performer or something? Right?
He did a lot of charity work.
Right in the beginning, yeah, I think, and like the JCs and all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look at this. This is what you got to do. You've either got to do something really good or something really heinous to get a Wikipedia page that just keeps fucking scrolling. You know? It's just...
Yeah, they still haven't identified all the bodies.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because and another thing they said was a lot of the parents didn't want to come forward because they were worried that meant their child was gay.
Oh, and they'd be judged on.
Yeah. So, like, there's still people who haven't been, they're still working on it.
Fucking hell, that's horrible.
He was so charismatic, though.
26. Well, they all are. And if you've got, antisocial personality disorder, like most sociopaths.
Like I could just like when he was talking, I was like, I could have a conversation with that guy and it would be fine.
Well, when they're fascinating,
Yeah.
you know, it's people like that you find fascinating. I mean, even was it that? I can't remember, or it was something else that I was watching, and they said, and I realised that he wasn't gonna. Oh yeah, it was someone else that was staying with him or something to start, and they were like, oh yeah, and I realised he wasn't gonna. Like he was just messing around, and they ended up staying the night.
Yes, yeah.
If someone did that to me,
The early days.
Yeah, I'd be like way out of there. But apparently, he used to like, you know, see if he'd get guys to do stuff with him, and if they were like, nah, he was just like testing their morals and.
Just hold a gun to their head.
Oh Jesus. Yeah, so I didn't look. It's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
And that was another thing too, because I thought to myself, you know what, I don't need to finish this to
Get it.
No, and to have enough stuff to talk about when it comes to serial killers.
Oh, yeah.
You know, all that kind of, because it is fascinating. Like, it's true crime.
Yeah.
You know, like
Love it.
it's fascinating. And usually the worse it is, the better. I saw something yesterday. Not the worse it is, the better, but, you know, it's shit you couldn't write it.
No,
It's
that's
like the
it.
Cleveland one. You couldn't think of that.
Yeah.
Or did you see, I saw something in the paper yesterday. This is a true crime thing that's not actually a TV show, but it happened in Sydney. So someone just got sentenced to jail for someone that they killed 20 years ago because his ex-wife dobbed him in.
Yep.
But he like pushed the guy, or the guy went off the gap. And like then it came out that they had like a encounter. Oh. So it was either I don't think he got convicted for a hate crime, but I think, anyway, whatever happened. But he'd say things like his wife asked him about it, and he's like, oh, it's not my fucking fault if he fell. Or, you know, like or something like, and all that kind of stuff. And it was like, Jesus. You know.
It's always the wife.
But it's good because even like the victim's family apparently thanked her.
Yeah.
Because like they finally got closure after.
Yeah, but how long was she sitting on that though?
Oh, yeah. Well, totally. Well,
I would be thank you. I'd be like, what took you so long?
Well, it's not like her coming forward earlier would have brought him back. Like, I get what you're saying as well, but it's not like
No.
because they were trying to paint it like she was doing it for profit, because there was a reward for information that led to it, but she said she didn't know about that because she lived in another state.
Oh, come on. So she didn't say anything for 20 years, and then there was a reward, and all of a sudden she's got information?
Yeah. I mean, she should probably get
she doesn't get a thank you.
But I mean, maybe you just take the information, tell them they're getting it, and then maybe she's going to get stitched up. Like, this only just happened yesterday. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
Maybe they're just using that to build something on her, because you can be an accessory to a crime.
The Gap, just the word The Gap freaks me out.
Where is it again? I think I've been there once.
It's like, it's in the eastern suburbs.
Had a good chat with someone.
It's like Double Bay, I think?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, moving on from serial killers, do you want to know what we're in for next week? Oh, God, I hope you haven't seen this one.
What is it?
It is called Bullshit, the Game Show.
No, I haven't seen that.
Have you heard of it?
No.
Does this sound... all right, well then. It just looks like more quickly made garbage.
Yeah, I love it.
Contestants strive to correctly answer difficult trivia questions, and when they can't, they simply move on to plan B, lying through their teeth.
Okay.
So what this is have you ever seen... Oh, fuck, maybe you haven't. There's a game called Liars Club.
No.
It's just like a little fucking stupid party game, but it's like... So you'll get given, and it'll be a word or something, and you have to come up with the meaning.
Yeah.
And then everyone has to try and figure out who's lying.
Yeah, okay.
It's kind of like that. And it's... I actually really enjoy it.
It sounds like one of those quiplash games.
Yeah, it is. And I'm just really good at like coming up with something that...
Sounds like it might be right.
But it's so like unrealistic. But it's like, you know, it's like, yeah. You know,
all right. So that's what we're watching.
You pick a thing, an object, and something else.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, oh, maybe that does exist. Yeah. So I guess that's what we're in for.
Oh, okay. Is it American?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Who knows? Let's see. I was kind of hoping we could stay on the true crime thing, but...
Oh, I'd like a break if I'm being honest.
Okay.
2 in a row's enough.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's get some nice...
Apart from Rose West, are there many women serial killers?
There's a whole show called... what's it called? It's Deadly Women.
Yeah.
And I've watched like...
I'm sure there are. Women can...
18 seasons of that. So they definitely is. I wouldn't say they're serial killers, but they are murderers, and a few of them did like a number of murders. There's like Florence, like no, what was the nurse? Was it the nurse?
Oh yeah, Nightingale.
Yeah. So there's there's a bunch of them. Yeah.
Here's an interesting one that I read. So the woman that wrote, she worked on that suicide hotline with Bundy.
Yeah.
She was a journalist and then she used that book and it became massive. And then she's written a lot, but she wrote the police beat and all that stuff. So she's true crime, and she wrote one called Small Sacrifices. And I remember this, but I just had to look up the name. The woman's name was Diane Downs. And she shot 3 of her own kids, but not like all in one go.
Oh my God.
Like it wasn't like in one shooting.
Oh, that's so much worse.
No, it was over time.
Oh, that's way
From
worse.
what I remember of it, the last one was because the guy that she was with didn't want like kids. You know, like so it was that kind of thing. So yeah.
No.
So just then, so there definitely are.
Oh, I reckon I've watched that episode of Deadly Women as well, and I've forgotten
really?
it. Yeah.
Some of the stuff people do.
Blah.
It's like, how can you?
Yeah, no, let's watch a cool game show about bullshit. That sounds perfect.
Oh, well, it does sound like fun. But I do like this because it brings up more bigger.
True,
you know.
yeah.
I doubt we're going to be talking about the psychiatry of maybe the idiots that go on TV shows.
Yeah.
All right, well, episode 13.
Yes.
And what are we down on Patreon now? 3?
We've got 3 episodes out on Patreon.
All right, and another one coming next week. Fantastic.
Yes.
All right, well, thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. And
Thank you.
we'll listen to you next time.
Bye.
See ya.